Tyler Campbell. I own and operate a little company called Storybuilder Creative, video production for construction companies. My background is in commercial construction. I was actually a structural steel detailer before I went into this business. I love the industry and like to create content about it and stir things up as much as I can.
Where do you see the state of things right now when it comes to technology in construction?
I think I'll probably say this to my grave. Construction is actually not slow to adopt technology. It's that the tech that we've been providing to them has originally, it sucked and nobody wants to use it as a result. We've been handing them crappy pieces of software that don't actually solve their problems. We haven't been listening very well.
What do you see working? Because there's a lot that's not working. What do you see that is working as you tell the stories?
Relentless pursuit back to the end user, relentless pursuit of trying to understand the problems that they face every single day. I would challenge any CEO, which I know this is crazy, get out of your freaking Tesla and go out to a job site and actually work. Guarantee you, you're going to have some level of insight that is going to guide your organization. Think like Walt Disney. Walt would go into his parks and he would walk around and he would say, why is this not working? If you're not thinking like that, you're not going to build a really extraordinary organization.
Tyler, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm excited to have you here. I'd love to just throw it straight to you. Why don't you give a quick introduction to yourself and what you do every day?
Heck yeah, George. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. So Tyler Campbell. So I own and operate a little company called Storybuilder Creative, video production for construction companies. And then also on the side, my side business is Construction Brothers, a podcast. And so get out there and talk to a bunch of people just like you and have a ton of fun. And actually operate that with my brother, Eddie. And we've been doing that for 5 years now. So it's been a long time. But yeah, day to day looks like helping clients with strategies and getting out on site and shooting videos and doing fun stuff like that. And my background is in commercial construction as well. So it was a heck of a pivot that I did there. Wasn't originally in video. I was actually a structural steel detailer before I went into this business. And so, like I said, heck of a pivot. But structural steel detailing is in my background. It's what I did for a decade. And yeah, man, I love the industry and like to create content about it and talk about it and, stir things up as much as I can.
So this leads into a little bit about how I found you. So I came across you on LinkedIn with, I don't know if you would call it this, but I think of it as like these hot takes around maybe you having some honest conversations around us not pretending everything is golden and glowy and perfect in the industry, and specifically in the construction or AEC world. Talk to me a little bit about how you kind of see the state of the union, both in that industry and, of course, knowing that this podcast is focused on technology and the fact that we're talking to a lot of folks that are trying to build solutions for this industry.
Yeah.
Where do you see the state of things right now when it comes to technology in construction?
So first and foremost, before I go and put my curmudgeon hat on, I like to preface it by saying I do love the industry and I'm excited for the future of the industry. But I think there are a lot of things that we need to talk about and be real about right now. And the main things that I like to talk about is stuff that I saw when I was a detailer, stuff that I saw when I was working with GCs. And all of this technology noise that we see right now, it's kind of dizzying. So if I'm talking about the state of the industry is very confused right now. We're in a transitional period. We've gone from, using plans that are on paper and, just everything being analog to this digital switch over. And in this switch, we are just in the muck of trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, what do our new systems, what do our new processes need to be? And then there's a lot of marketing out there telling us that this is going to solve all of your problems and everything's going to be hunky-dory and beautiful and amazing if you just use this software. And that's not reality. And another problem that's happening is that the people that are building it don't have a background in the construction industry. And so they don't really realize the actual issues that people are facing out there in the field or in the office. So we're in this area in our industry. When I'm talking about like the state of the union, we're confused. We're very confused. I got a list the other day. It was actually sent to me by a friend, It was a PDF that had like just basically a map with all the logos of all the different tech solutions out there in the construction space. I should probably try to find it and send it to you, George. You'd find it interesting, but thousands of tech solutions out there. And
Yeah.
so many of them have overlap. So many of them do similar things. And so these people who are running these businesses, they're super busy already. They're trying to figure out what are the things that are going to bring value to our organization. And they don't have the time to figure it out. And then also they've been burned by these crappy software solutions that don't actually solve anything. And so again, it's just we're dizzy, we're confused. There's so many options and so many opportunities out there that it's just going to take us some time to kind of chew through it and figure out what's a good path forward. What's the stuff that matters? What's the stuff that doesn't? And then also a lot of what I'm trying to do in my content is spark the conversations so that the people building the technology solutions can see insights from people in the field actually using it, hear it straight from their mouths. Because a lot of times what happens is like, if you come to me and you say, hey, Tyler, I've got a software solution for you, and I'm a steel fabricator, for instance, I might be really nice to your face to just get you to go away, but I'm not actually going to tell you straight to your face, like, this sucks for these reasons. All
Yeah.
right. Now, okay, there are some people out there that will definitely do that. This I know. But a lot of times it's like, I don't want to waste my time explaining to you why it doesn't matter to me. And so they move down the road. So what I have been trying to do, and honestly, what my brother and I have even tried to do in our podcast, is create this feedback loop, right? So Eddie
Mm.
and I keep talking about this feedback loop in this industry is like, we've got to provide feedback up and down the chain. If like we're seeing something down here at the specialty trades level, we've got to get that up to the people up at the top so that they understand why we need this. And then also the people up at the top need to be communicating. So the people at the bottom, we have to have a feedback loop. And that's something that's kind of lacking in our industry a lot. And we feel the feedback loop can help solve some of that confusion. It's not going to be all of it, but
Yeah.
hopefully we spark some of these conversations and we can keep moving forward because it's exciting. There is a lot of stuff happening out there in the space. There's a lot of really cool tech being developed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you've developed some of it, right? It's some of the coolest stuff out there, but man, we're just confused. So there's this
No, I think it's
for you.
I know. I think it's a really good assessment. So we don't have a background in construction or engineering specifically, and previously my consulting firm had spent a lot of time kind of serving anybody who wanted to build something, right?
Yep.
And of course, what I realized is that one parallel that we have with the services firms or with the construction world is that we're both services firms.
Mm-hmm.
So we both have clients that we're trying to make happy. Our margins aren't real great at the end of the day, so we're always working within a small margin, margin for error, literally.
Yeah.
And ultimately we want repeat accounts, right? So we want to be able to have that same customer client come back to us for another project, to come back to us for another build, to come back to us for another consultative thing, right?
Yeah.
And so there were some parallels there, but it was funny as we got a client in this space years ago. And then I said, oh man, I want to learn more and start diving into this. And then I'm starting to get retargeted via Instagram, Facebook, Meta, et cetera, and LinkedIn.
Yep.
And what I experienced was exactly what you're talking about, which is this inundation with everyone saying, oh, you're into construction tech? I've got a solution for you. And it's like hundreds and hundreds of different things. My Instagram feed literally now is like cycling videos mixed with construction, advertisements.
Yeah.
It's this crazy, like, oh my gosh, they can't stop.
Yeah.
And I think you're that kind of almost like the wheat and the chaff analogy, right? Like there's just so much noise. It's like, how would I even decide? At a certain point, I'm just going to give up and go back to Excel or do it on a piece of paper and just call people or text people.
Who can blame them? Who can blame them? I mean,
Yeah.
Excel's easy. Like Excel is easy. It's accessible to basically everybody. You share CSV files around, like all these different things. Like it's super easy. And yeah, finding a good tech solution is like finding a needle in a haystack. It's very, very freaking difficult.
Yeah.
And then also then you've got this whole other element of, and I talk about this a lot and I beat on VCs relentlessly because I think they're part of the problem is that they're coming in and they're investing in crap that doesn't actually bring value into our industry. So you have these people that are coming straight out of whatever business school saying that they're going to save the construction industry riding in on their white horse and they know nothing about it. Right. Like there's that sort of delusion too, that's actually caused some of the burning that we've seen, uh,
Yeah.
and caused some of the reluctance to try some stuff out. Like I will constantly say this, and I think I'll probably say this to my grave. Like, construction is actually not slow to adopt technology. They're not slow to adopt technology.
I think this
Even
is
though it
good.
feels like it feels like they are. Here's the thing. They're not slow to adopt, because you hand them a new tool and you can show them like, oh my gosh, this actually makes my life way easier, way better. They're going to want to use that thing. Like, I watched my dad for years spend thousands of dollars on just idiotic little things. Okay. Like, oh, this will save us like 20 minutes a day or something like that. Like, he thought that way. And a lot of people in general contractors, even in specialty trades, will. I've seen, like, my background's in steel. I've seen steel shops go out and they'll buy, 750 to, $2 million pieces of robotic equipment and implement that in their shop workflow. They're not stupid.
Right.
We want to use tech. It's what's happened is that they've been burned
Yeah.
so many times. So it's not that they're slow to adopt technology. It's that the tech that we've been providing to them has originally, it sucked and nobody wants to use it as a result. And they're a lot more resistant because of the stupidity that has happened over the years. Like, we know that we're going to have this digital migration. Like, we know everything's going to go digital. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But this slowing down has actually been caused by the digitization efforts of the industry. It's because we've been handing them crappy pieces of software that don't actually solve their problems. We haven't been listening very well. Also, the user experience of it is awful. Don't even get me started on the UX in the industry. Holy crap, man. Hire a UXer for like once in your freaking life. If you don't know what it is, go Google it. These are things that I feel like our industry is just lacking so much. And I keep hearing this theme, this like, oh, the industry is just slow to adopt technology. I mean, if you look at the people that are saying that, that's the freaking marketers that are out there
Right.
peddling the crappy softwares.
Yeah.
If they're saying
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
slow to adopt technology, I don't know if you actually should use that software.
Right.
I'm just be honest.
We've seen the exact same thing, and in the conversations that we've had with a lot of folks is whether it's leadership or marketing or the tool that they bought or whatever, is basically it blames it back on the end user,
Yep.
saying you're not tech literate enough, you're not tech mature enough, whatever that language is that you want to use. And then ultimately, then you turn around and you look at the solution. Like you said, you look at the software that they built for them and you went, would you want to use this? Like, you're selling this thing, or you're even, maybe it's not that they're selling it. There is a lot of SaaS solutions out there. Maybe it's something that, was built 15 years ago in-house by an IT department of a big enterprise construction firm.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go, I just don't understand why we get less than 1% adoption. Like, no one wants to use this thing. And then our first question is, have you talked to them about it?
No.
Like, have you actually gone to the users and said, well, what do you need? Or why don't you use it? Or how are you getting around it? Because obviously you're getting your work done. We're still, building bridges and buildings. Like, how are you getting around it? And if you're getting around it, is there a better way? Can we work with you to craft something together?
We're building construction tech solutions based off of a Forbes article that
Yes.
told us that the industry is slow to adopt technology. And we're
Yeah.
seeing an opportunity there, and we're saying, oh, we should try to fix this. And it's not actually a thing that's broken.
Yep.
The next billion-dollar construction tech company is one that solves a very simple solution or simple problem. Like, I say simple problem, but like it solves something that plagues everybody. And it does it in a very simplistic way.
Yeah.
That's the next billion-dollar tech solution in construction. I have no doubt. And that's the one that's going to have a stranglehold on the entire industry. And that's the one that's actually going to
So let me
really
ask you a question then.
damage.
In that space, because I agree with you, I love the idea of if we could build products that have a more simple approach, more simple experience, something that isn't trying to be everything to all people all the time, and ultimately becomes the Oracle Primavera or whatever, where it's like you need to have a master's degree just to know how to open the software, let alone like, and it just doesn't, it's over engineered on accident or on purpose. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Then the question is that I think that what I have seen is a bit of a flood of the market almost to the other end of the spectrum of almost oversimplifying to say we're only going to fix, I don't know, a text alert to scheduling.
Yeah.
And so, or like a clock in and clock out thing when you get geofenced into your site,
Yeah.
like that's great. I like that. I like the simplicity of that. But then the issue is that now you have this disjointed network of point solutions. And what I hear from heads of technology inside of these construction firms, these GC firms, or even some of the subs, vendor partners out there, they're saying, I don't know, I don't want to have 45 different pieces of software to run my teams,
Yeah.
even though many of them were your niche focus. So how do you find that balance? Or, I mean, in your take on it, how do you find that balance between simplicity of a unified experience throughout the life cycle of the project, and yet not oversimplicity to the point solution where now everyone else has to figure out how to Lego brick it all together?
I mean, I think that's the question of the day right there, dude. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah,
really don't know. And I
it's
think there
really
are a
hard.
lot smarter people than me trying to figure that out, such as yourself, right? Like,
We're
I'm just
trying. It's
saying, I'm like,
hard. It is a really hard problem.
like and as soon as somebody figures it out, again, I think they're going to make $1 billion. But I'll say this, and I think you said this in the question, which was like, you have these people within general contractors or within companies that you're working with that are trying to figure out, like, yeah, I don't want to be using all of these different software solutions, and like I just want something to kind of unify everything. And I think the question goes a little bit deeper, because they're having to use these different things because they haven't found something that gets widely adopted,
Yeah. It's an
right?
adoption
So
issue.
it is an adoption issue. And so I think at the end of the day, like for some of those little solutions, like let's say a geofencing solution, like you had
Yeah.
talked about, right? What is the main thing that you need to happen in order for that person, that technologist at that company, to see the value from it? The person, the user, the journeyman or whoever needs to install that app on their phone, or however it works. They need to carry around a device, or they need to do this or that and the other. Like, there is an adoption issue in the field. Like,
Mhm.
I'm talking about just not even like the skilled labor force, but the unskilled labor force too. Like, how do we build stuff that actually provides those people value? And if you can find a way to build something that they're like, holy cow, this actually makes my life better, but it can also in tandem relate back to the organization as a whole, like that's where you really find a winner. And again, it's just like, we're not building solutions that actually bring value to the people in the field. And I think that's the reason we're having, again, kind of an adoption issue. And so it's like every person, and it's complex. All right, it's complex. I vent about this stuff, but I do know that this is a complex issue to solve. All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
and it's not a one size fits all. It's a very dynamic thing. But like every single person, every single trade, every single like skilled worker, unskilled worker, any of those people in that chain, they all have different things that they would deem valuable to the
Hmm.
job. And isolating that down to one thing is super difficult.
Yeah.
Super difficult. Now, I mean, yeah, maybe it is clocking in, clocking out. Maybe that could be beneficial. But again, like the value of, having it on my phone versus just going over to a little booth and just punching my card. I'm like, why would I want another thing on my phone that tracks me? That's another
Hmm.
resistance that we're dealing with too, is people don't want to
Hmm.
be tracked.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not even really an accountability thing. It's just a big brother thing. They just don't want that.
They
And
don't
you'll see
trust it.
they don't trust it. And you'll see that even with like some unions out there. And I'm not super educated in unions, but I have heard that a lot of them just don't even allow some of those tracking devices to be installed on anybody's phone. So then you have a layer of like some union states, some other states that like will allow it. This will work over here, but it won't work out west. Like, it's all over the map, man. Like, there's so much confusion in what is going to move the industry forward. There are a lot of solutions, but there's not much. I don't know. Like, there's not much value. I don't think we've quite found the value that people need, and it's complex. It's hard. It's very hard.
Let's take a break to tell you about our sponsor this week, Crema, a design and technology consultancy. At Crema, we know that navigating through periods of rapid change and scaling can be daunting. Broken systems, misaligned teams, delivery delays, and gaps in customer engagement are just some of the challenges that can arise when growing like this. That's where Crema steps in. Crema acts as a trusted partner, helping you overcome these hurdles on your journey to becoming a tech-enabled organization. Crema is excited to announce 3 new services designed to empower your product teams. You may have heard of the product triangle: design, product, and technology. Well, we're excited to help you navigate all 3. First is our UX audit. This isn't just a review, it's a deep dive into the user experience to uncover transformative insights that serve as a blueprint for greater success. Next is our team assessment. This service helps you identify the strengths and gaps in your product team, arming you with the knowledge to excel. And finally, a code quality assessment. It's essential to ensure that your technology is not just working, but thriving. Our experts will enhance your code base to improve performance, security, and scalability. Ready to get the most out of your existing product teams? Visit crema.us today and learn how Crema's new services can help you navigate your biggest challenges. Now back to the show. As you tell people's stories, as you get closer to that person that is trying to find value, whether it is in the craft itself, whether it is the solution that's being marketed to that craft, what are the highlights? What are the parts where you go, yeah, that's somebody with the right intent and maybe the right approach. What do you see working, I guess is my question, because there's a lot that's not working. What do you see that is working as you tell the stories?
Relentless pursuit back to the end user, man. Just relentless pursuit of trying to understand the problems that they face every single day. Like, those are the products that I get excited to help support, right? Because I know at the end of the day, like, okay, if they're not quite perfect yet, we're going to get to a place where these things are really, really solid, really solid. Because the mindset of the founder, the mindset of anybody in the development process or anything like that, it's all about bringing value back to that end user. And so often I see the ones that fail, the ones that don't do very well, are the ones that don't really care. Like, they're like, no, here's the way we should do it. Here's the way. And I'm telling you, that is not the way to win the hearts and minds of a construction organization or anybody in a construction organization. If you come in and say that you know it all, they're immediately going to shut you off immediately. Yeah. So coming in and having empathy for the situations that they're in, putting yourself in their shoes, stuff like that, that's the kind of stuff that I'm seeing working. And it's not necessarily like just make this video and everything happens and it's perfect and all that stuff. Now, that might be involved, I'm not even going to lie, but it's really just the relentless pursuit of getting your boots dirty and going out there and talking to people. Like, you talked about that earlier, man. Just like, talk to people. What are the problems that you're seeing? What are the issues? And write and just be relentless trying to solve their problems. Like, at the end of the day, those are your customers, man. If you're not talking to them, you're hosed before you even start.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think I'm hearing you say it from a startup perspective, from a SaaS perspective as well, but we also see it in-house. So if you get into a large GC firm or a large engineering firm, we see the same thing happening, where whether it's leadership, and a lot of these folks used to be on the front lines and they've kind of worked themselves up through their careers to be now in these head of technology or head of digital or head of, innovation or whatever. And they find themselves at this position that's torn between a lot of these are ESOPs, right? So, but torn between the employee stakeholder value of the organization. So they're thinking about the balance sheet. That's one aspect.
Yeah.
All the way down to their workforces have gotten so big that it's really hard to remember and have that empathy with the entire, thousands or tens of thousands of folks that represent their firm, represent the work they're doing. And I think that there's a dissonance that starts to happen where you start to distance yourself from the problem because honestly, it's a little safer.
Yeah.
But to get closer for that technology group to get themselves closer to the actual end user, I've never seen, it does take time. It does take a new habit, a new routine. It's really uncomfortable because you might hear some stuff you don't want to hear.
Yep.
You might even hear some problems that you're like, I don't even know how to solve that.
Yeah.
And I know that's a big problem for you, but I don't know how to solve it.
Yeah, dude, the thing that I don't see happening, and I'll call technologists out a lot of times, is like, yeah, they'll go to the field. They'll go to the
Mm,
they'll go out to the field with the new toy and all the flash and all the pretty this, that, and the other. But these technologists will never go out to the field just to work.
yeah.
Just to work. That's it. And just
Hmm.
observe. That's it. Just be with the people. Be with the people. What crap are you hearing? Like, you don't
Mhm.
have this new piece of tech on your hip or anything
I'm
like
not
that.
selling you something.
No, I'm not selling you something. I'm just here to work and
Hmm.
listen and just see what happens. And again, I think that that can go up to the higher levels of leadership too. I mean, I would challenge any CEO, which I know this is crazy. This is crazy. Get out of your Tesla, get out of your freaking Tesla, and go out to a job site and actually work.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, you're going to have some level of insight that is going to guide your organization, like from that, like whether it's technological, whether that's how you treat your people, any of it.
Yeah.
When is the last time you actually went out and used a porta john and realized how
Yes.
disgusting it is?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and like
Yeah.
how people treat stuff. When's the last time that you've had to do all of these things that you're asking people to do? And not to go out there in your suit and tie, or not, you know, not to even just go out there incognito, man, undercover boss that joker. Like we're just here to learn. We're just here to experience it and see what happens. Like I don't hear that happening very often.
I
But
mean,
that
the undercover boss analogy is good. It makes me think of the
yeah.
early days of Airbnb,
Mm,
right? Where the Airbnb founders,
yeah.
they didn't know what they didn't know, which I think is ultimately, I say this over and over again, not knowing what not to do is a superpower.
Yeah.
And so what they did is they said, well, we're going to go out and actually talk to somebody who wanted to list their property, their apartment or whatever.
Yeah.
And what, the first thing they learned is these people don't know how to take good photography. So their
Yep.
apartments look like crap.
Yep.
So they're not selling. They're not, and it was these little things that had they not gone door to door and said, hey, I'm with Airbnb, love to help you figure out why you're trying to list, what you're trying to do. And it was the founders, right? They could have just been like, I got VC money. I don't have to. I can pay somebody. They can go do it and report back to me.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there's something to be said about that proximity
Mhm.
that is super powerful.
It's not there anymore. I'll use this as an example. So, like many CEOs, we'll just use them as like just
Yeah.
we'll
A
use them as
stereotype. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
stereotype, right?
Yeah.
So we'll use that. Uh, Many of them did come through the industry. Many
Sure.
did,
Yeah.
and then they rose up through the ranks, and they're now the CEO of a general contractor, of a subcontractor, whatever that might be, right? I'm here to tell you the difference between when you were coming up and today is completely different, because I'm seeing that even with my dad. So I went
Hmm.
out to a job site that shall remain nameless, and it was freaking huge. I'll just say that. Went out to a job site with my dad, and dad has been in the industry his whole career, like since 18, and
Wow.
like job site all the time. And seeing him process the little beepers that we had to have on our belts, the proximity
Yes.
sensors that told us we were too close, like we were within a 6 foot radius of somebody else and we had to step away. Seeing him process that, seeing him process the safety orientation, seeing him process the safety requirements that were being put on us. Like, this is a person that grew up in the field, man. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there was a little bit of separation there
Hmm.
because he rose up through the ranks and he's no longer doing that. But now he goes back to the field and it's like, holy cow, they have to do this now. They have to do that now. I never realized this. I never realized that. And then
Hmm.
you start to see honestly, some of the delusion that can happen out in the field. But you also see the opportunities of like, why are we doing that? Why are we doing this? And like, I'm not, maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure there are CEOs. I'm sure there are people in that, leadership capacity that are doing this sort of thing.
There's
And
the anomalies. Yeah.
good on you. Like, I'm proud
Yeah.
of you.
Yeah.
But vast majority are not. Like they are. They're just showing up in their freaking Tesla, walking into their office, answering some emails, talking to, their assistant for a little bit, shaking howdy with some potential customers and grab a beer and then, oh yeah, I'm gonna head home for the night. Like that's they get caught in that routine, which routine isn't a bad thing, but man, if you're trying to innovate, if you're trying to move your company forward, think like Walt Disney.
Mm.
Think like Walt Disney. Walt would go into his parks and he would walk around and he would say, why is this not working? Why is that not working? He would go in there and be with the people. And if you're not thinking like that, you're not going to build a really extraordinary organization. Like, we have had people in the past that have done this really well. Walt Disney is definitely one of them. And
Yeah.
so look at Walt. Like, how can we start thinking about our businesses like that? And I think when we start doing that, these tech solutions are going to start getting a little bit tighter. We're going
Mm-hmm.
to start seeing a lot more solutions that are like, holy cow, that's actually answering a real problem.
Mm.
Because these people that have that 30 years of experience that are now the CEOs are coming back and they're looking around and going like, oh man, we need to fix that. We need to fix that. Oh, let's do this. Let's do that. And then we're starting to build new apps, new things that actually solve problems instead of just like aimlessly firing arrows at nothingness.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think when you do get out in the field and you see the ingenuity of,
Mhm.
whether it's somebody's working steel or doing framing, and you go, they're doing mental math that I'm never going to be able to do. It's incredible.
Yeah.
They're able to say like, hey, I can use this material and massively reduce waste if I do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at, hey, I'm going to need to stage this workout over the next 3 days. So they're projecting out a mental plan that is so sophisticated,
Yeah.
but really hard to capture in a digital experience, and even harder to capture if you haven't sat there and watched them like
Yeah.
doing it with their
I'll,
brains.
I'll go you this too. They a lot of times don't even need the digital experience.
Right.
Okay. So like, I can do this now, which is crazy, but I can actually look at blueprints. I can look at drawings
Yep.
and I can see it in my head in
Yeah.
3D.
Yeah.
And that like experienced people, and I'm not saying I'm super experienced, but like I have a decade in it. You
Yep.
get to a place where you can do that. And so it's like, yeah, you hand me that model and I'm like, okay. No, I can
Yeah.
already see it.
Yeah.
I don't need the model. I got it
Do you
here.
think that'll shift?
It's
Do you
crazy.
think that'll shift as the next generation of folks? It's kind of like the fact that, previous generations didn't need calculators, right? They could do mental
Oh,
math. They could do like now we've been offset, and will the next generation of engineers of even field workers that are now digital first, like they grew up with iPhones, right?
yeah.
They grew up with having a smart device. They grew up with internet.
Yeah.
They learned a lot of their trades on going, I wonder how to do that. I'm going to look it up on YouTube, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
There, do you think that there will be a shift in what once was something that became muscle memory now is something that becomes a little bit augmented by the digital experience?
Oh yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, we're seeing it now, and I think that's the reason for that kind of tension, that confusion that we're even seeing is that some of the younger generations coming in, and they do need some of those tools to see things in 3 dimensions. You
Yeah.
know, they're
Yeah.
used to using those tools even through school or like whatever,
Yeah.
uh, or they want to use those tools. Whereas I'll say the older dogs in the game, like they're used to doing it another way. And so there is a shift that's happening, man. Like there's a shift happening from this analog environment over to this digital environment. And so it's going to keep happening.
But I
It
think that
is.
shift's also going to require a higher demand, right? So it's going to be like, I expect a user experience like TikTok or Instagram. It's got to be that good, right? I mean, I expect to have something where this can't be hard to use because everything else in my life is easy.
Everything else in their life is easy to use. And so if they ever come across something that is crappy to use,
Yeah,
they won't use it.
that's right.
So if
Yeah.
your user experience sucks, the younger generation is not going to use it. They're not going to waste their time. They're not going to waste their time. Whereas I feel like the older generation doesn't know any better yet. If that makes any
Yeah.
sense, like they're
Yeah.
they're still these digital natives that we brought up using these apps like Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Like we use this as examples, or I mean just anything on an iPhone for that matter. Like super easy to use it, man. Just crazy, crazy well thought out. And then we're handing them this thing that is just like it's a dumpster fire
Yeah. Right.
and we're asking them to use it. Like, yeah, of course our adoption cycle sucks. It's a half-baked idea. Like it's half-baked. Why would anybody use this? And there's so many of them. I've seen a few of them even this week, man. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit. I want to learn more about Storybuilder and what you're doing there. Tell me more about you. You made this shift, right? You're no longer working with those drawings, and you're thinking more about how to tell people stories.
Yeah.
Tell me about what your day to day looks like, and who you're getting a chance to What stories are you getting a chance to tell?
Yeah, man. I mean, so we're getting a chance to work with a lot of these construction technology companies, honestly, which is great because I get to kind of see behind the scenes and how things are working, and I am excited about what I'm seeing out there. We got a long way to go. But there's a lot of stuff that we need to work on. So for me, my day to day is trying to find companies that really get it. They want to help the industry, and they're trying to create solutions that are going to make a huge difference. And they're doing that by asking people, and they're doing that by doing that boots on the ground effort that I'm talking about, and just like shaking hands, kissing babies out in the field, trying to figure out like what is the solution that you need.
Yeah,
So my day to day is just identifying those people and then trying to amplify those stories. Right. I want to
that's super
amplify
cool.
those stories because honestly, I want to kill off the other crappy solutions. And the only way we can do that is by branding them out, by marketing them out. And so
Yeah.
if I can use what I know about the construction industry to go out and identify those people, and then leverage what I know in video production and leverage amazingly talented people. I get to work with just people that I never thought I'd be able to work with. People who have shot Netflix documentaries. I've got people who have worked on many, many feature films and big commercials nationally that you would recognize. And like, I get to work with people like that, and I get to bring them in and teach them about the construction industry. And we get to make really cool stuff. And so I just feel so like just so blessed that I get to do this every single day. So that's my day to day, man. I get to identify cool companies, and then we just tell their stories through video. That's the focus is video, video, video. Yeah.
There's we actually had transparently we had a conversation in house. We're like, well, why are we bringing on a video production guy to a technology podcast that we're focused currently on AEC? And I'm like, because he touches all three. Like, he's a creative
Yeah.
that cares deeply about this industry, that is got a passionate point of view around the technology that serves them. He's working with those folks. And so I think that's what's unique about your story,
Yeah.
is that you get an opportunity to kind of be that creative voice that is trying to bridge that gap that you've been talking about.
Yeah, man. It's really wild. Like I started out in the industry when I was 19, and learned from my dad and my brother. It was a family business, and I worked with my dad for a little while in the office, and then he kicked me out to go work with Eddie, my brother, and we worked together for a decade, and developed that relationship, started up the podcast, and like, dude, like I got to be in the trenches before I was ever the voice or any
Mm,
voice in the industry. And so I kind of
yeah.
got to see that side. I got to deal with, you know, some of the different harassment issues, like with some of our employees, working with other people, other fabricators. Like, I got to see the crap.
Yeah.
Um, and so a lot of what I'm seeing out there is people just not speaking speaking in reality. And so what I want to do is use that creativity to enlighten people and try to make the industry a little bit better every day. So, uh, it's crazy. If you had told me that I get to do what I'm doing today, when I was 19, if you told me that, I would have been like, what? How did that happen from construction? And I think that it just shows how powerful this industry is in creating a career path for people,
Yeah.
and how much opportunity there is out there. And so, if I could leave it on a positive note, I'll say, okay, it's like I feel like we've talked a lot of negative here.
We talked trash a little bit. That's good. We mixed up the bag.
All right, I want to talk in the positive light though,
Yeah, please.
because if I'm going to leave this on a positive note, I'm going to say there's so much opportunity in this industry. There's so much. Like, if I can go from steel detailing to a video production, like that, there's this. It's crazy, but I'm still working in industry.
Mhm.
Like, dude, and you think about that. I could have gone from steel detailing into technologist. I could have gone out into superintendent. I could have been a robot operator, like architect, engineer, anything. There's so many little lanes in the construction industry. And to me, like, yeah, there's so much that's broken. But man, you want to talk about the land of opportunity right now? Look no further than construction. This is the place where you can find a pretty amazing career, where you can build a pretty incredible life. And so, I mean, I owe a lot of what I get to do to every day to being in the trenches and seeing that and learning. And I don't know, man. I think it's a great place to be, and I don't know if I would want to be anywhere else.
Well, let's wrap on that, Tyler. That is, I love ending on a high note. You ended on such a great, and I agree. This industry has been refreshing. I've worked in a lot of different industries as a technologist and designer, and there, I will say what is true. While there are the bad apples, there are the folks that are in it for the wrong reasons. There's the folks that are just angry and they've got other issues they got to deal with at home. But that in general, there's a lot of folks that really want to do good work, and they care about the people they're doing that work with. And I think that's what you're speaking to, is that there's opportunity in this space, not only to do good work, but to do it with really cool people too. Like there's just good people in this industry.
There are a lot of really good people, and we can go into another tangent there, but there are a lot of really good people in this industry, and with a lot of really cool, a lot of people with a lot of heart. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. And I guess I always like to wrap with a little bit of a thank you, because I think that there's intentionality in the way that when we pick the folks that we want to have come on the podcast, I'm really looking for those folks that are being intentional with their work, with their focus, with their desire to connect technology or service or, an offering of some sort to the human beings that it's going to serve well. It's not just to make a buck, although we do need to have a business that is profitable so we can keep doing it.
Profitability is decent, I guess.
Yeah. But ultimately, I want to say thank you, because I think that it doesn't come without. Thank you, because it doesn't come without the intentionality to do that work well. So well done. And on that note, I really want to roll out the red carpet for you. So where can people learn more about you, what you're working on? Obviously, I found you through the internet. It's not hard to find you, but tell them more directly where they should learn more about you.
Yeah. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you go to LinkedIn and look up Tyler Campbell, I'm the dude in the blue shirt with a smile. You should be able to see me. And so if you want to learn more about the company, Storybuilder Creative, that's our video production company, the one that I run. And then also, if you want another fun podcast to pair with this one, go check out Construction Brothers. That one's on any podcast app and on YouTube.
Tyler, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Heck yeah, George. Appreciate it, man.
People of Product is brought to you by Crema, a design consultancy that helps forward-thinking leaders discover, understand, and execute on their greatest opportunities. Learn more at crema.us.